Welcome to I Have No Title and I Must Podcast, the show where just a couple of guys who are half as clever as they think they are sit around and discuss whatever's on their mind this week. So let's answer the question. What's on your mind this week?
Well, I've been catching up with Mandalorian and The Bad Batch too, but I thought we would save that until closer to the end of the series, which maybe it won't be done. I think it will be done in May, which will be Star Wars month. We'll count it as the whole month of May, not just the 4th. So Bad Batch 2, maybe, do a roundup on those at that time.
Yeah, for sure. I think Star Wars definitely deserves its own episode. But in the last episode, you kind of mentioned briefly talking about Batman. Like one of the scenes, I think it was with the Penguin.
Yes.
It's just like a weird thing that stands out in a movie you like. Mm-hmm. Let's expand on that this week. Let's talk about scenes in movies that we like that are just kind of like seem out of place or just weird. And again, doesn't necessarily have to be a good movie, just movies that we like.
Sounds great.
So I guess one for me would be in the first X-Men movie. And it's the scene where Storm has Toad and says, you know what happens when a Toad is struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everybody else. That was a terrible joke.
Awful.
Yeah.
Just awful.
I mean, I think even saying like, oh, we're about to find out would have been a better joke. It's like, you're going to tell me you got, a fairly solid script for the rest of the movie, and that's the best joke you could come up with?
When I remember when that movie first came out and all of my friends had seen it, and they knew I was a big X-Men fan, so everybody was going to, like, oh, did you see X-Men? What'd you think of Ian McKellen, Magneto, what have you? But the next thing they would say would be like, what about that scene in the end with Storm? And I was like, yeah, what was up with that? Apparently, have you heard this? Like, I mean, it's easily, I don't know, when you told me you had X-Men on your list, that scene did not pop into my head. And then once you said Storm, I was like, oh, how didn't I think of that? Just within the past few weeks, I think it was on the Weekly Planet, one of them mentioned, it's not in the deleted scenes, I don't even know if it's an uncovered script or what, but it was a cut, I don't want to say storyline, but apparently the Toad was supposed to have a lot more dialogue. And at certain points in the film, strategically, he was supposed to have this catchphrase like, you know what happens to somebody when something happens with the Toad, or I don't know. And then in the end, it was Storm turning it around on him. But for some reason, they left that in, which happens in movies a lot, where they have like some sort of thing that is supposed to be the payoff to something, but they cut out all the scenes leading up to it. That one, it definitely made the movie a little more memorable. And I mean, also, go back and listen to Storm in like one of the earlier scenes when she first is teaching a class with Rogue. She sounds like she's attempting her Egyptian accent. It comes off as more Southern Belle. And then I think the director was like, how about you just do however Halle Berry talks in every other movie, including this one from here on out, because the accent clearly goes from Southern Belle in one scene to completely normal for every subsequent appearance that she has in every. No one ever talks about it, though. No one brings it up. And it bothers me to this day. And it's worse in the deleted scenes. If you look in there's an extended scene where she interacts with Rogue and they're introducing Rogue to the school. Anyway, so there you go. Kudos to Ray Park. He's amazing. And we worked it back around to Star Wars yet again. Anything else about that weird-ass exchange?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think that's good.
Okay. Is it my turn again? Yeah. I'm sorry. I only just found out about that a few weeks ago. And I was like, at least it explains one of the standout, strangest bad dialogue scenes in history. And yet, it doesn't. Because why wouldn't you just change the line or something? Because that out of context, which it is out of context, even if you watch the whole movie, because the context has been removed. It doesn't make any sense. They could have changed the line, or they could have just even cut around her saying anything at all. Edit back, edit back, edit back, edit back, and then lightning, the scene would work perfectly. Work perfect. All right. So one of mine is from a Kevin Smith film, someone who I think we'll probably be touching on quite a lot. It's Dogma. This movie actually I don't want to, like, there's very few movies that, like, change your life, but talk about something as strong as, like, the philosophy of what makes you you, and somebody saying something to you that really makes you think for the next 20 years. I think Kevin Smith had some ideas in Dogma that really did. I think they hit home for me, and I really enjoyed the film. However, there's one scene that absolutely does not, could have been cut or changed by quite a bit, and it's when they're in that bar. I think it's like 3/4 of the way in, and there's the feces demon. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
No, you didn't forget. You blocked it out. I know, because it scarred me to this day, and I have not been able to forget. So, Kevin, there were some questionable decisions made in this movie. I've seen every Kevin Smith film. I like Jay and Silent Bob in doses. I've seen their films, yes, and I think they work. Again, like, I see that. I don't want to watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, like, every day. I think it's a good, funny film. A lot of people expect something like Scorsese level out of a comedy. The Hangover is The Hangover. It's not going to be like a masterpiece that you're going to show in film schools. But to have them in this film and kind of be the stars, this was kind of Jay and Silent Bob's like real first starring appearance, or did it? I feel like this came first. It was like the most screen time they'd had.
Yeah, I know Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back come out in 2001. I can't remember when Dogma came out.
I think Dogma came out in the 90s.
I think you're right.
I think it did. But to have them in there to that level seemed weird. It seemed like an odd choice, an out of place choice. It works. I feel like it still works. Chris Rock would have been more than enough, even though he kind of plays the straight man in this. Probably one of the first times he really did that. He would come to do that quite a bit and not just be the comedy relief. I feel like he could have swayed in both directions enough, but it works. I love that film. That scene could have been changed. I feel like he could still go back and do a director's cut. Having said that, if I tempted him, Kevin might go back in and add more and say, "Oh, you want? I'll add more scenes with that in there. I'll show you."
And for anyone listening who wants to go check this scene out, good luck. Because of different legal and copyright issues, Dogma's out of print and not streaming anywhere. So you have to thrift it if you're lucky.
Yeah, or other nefarious means.
Well,
it was
yeah.
Miramax, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think there's like music or something. I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but something to do with that and the licensing through like several different companies. Just made it like a legal
Wonder Years situation.
Yeah. I was trying to think what to do for my next movie. There's a few things I want to touch on. Because like the scene in the first Lord of the Rings, right after Frodo wakes up from being attacked by the Nazgul, and they have that whole Hobbit reunion scene. That's kind of weird, but a lot of people have already extended on that. But I just kind of wanted to mention it. But for another film, and I wouldn't even say that this is really a favorite film or one that I go back to often or at all. But the scene itself is weird enough that I'm going to include it. That and the fact that Paul Rudd uses this movie every time he's on Conan. But in Mac and Me, towards the end somewhere, out of nowhere, there's this song and dance scene at a McDonald's. And you know that is clearly in there because sponsorships. Like McDonald's paid them, they put that in there. There's no other reason for that to be in. Even as bad as this movie is, there's nothing to suggest that, hey, this random McDonald's dance scene, what we need to really drive this movie home. But here we go, we got it.
Now you're saying you're not that fond of this film? Because how would you explain your Mac and Me costume that you wear every Halloween?
Well, I mean, it's not really a Halloween thing. It's more of a, anyway.
Oh, it's like not a furry, but a skinny.
Yeah, just like to bring it out at the cons for the hardcore fans out there, But yeah, why this movie was even made, cash grab already, but that is definitely reaching for that cash.
Yeah, why isn't E.T. on the Reese's packaging?
Yeah.
I feel ripped off by someone. I don't know who.
I think M&M's also does, because I think they originally wanted M&M's for E.T. And they're like,
that's right.
And they're like, no. So Reese's like, yeah, we got it. Use us.
Spielberg, but why the blue? Remember the blue thing that was in every comic book advertisement ever? Do you remember that? The Reese's? Look it up afterward.
I'll have to look it up.
Well, next week, we'll get back to you. Everyone, write in and tell me that you also can't remember and that this is a Mandela effect, that only I am affected by the blue alien that was the mascot for Reese's Pieces in comic books. This is a thing. You're gaslighting me right now. This is real. Anyway, whatever. Move on. Mac and Me, the greatest movie of all time, according to Tyler.
Forget what Rotten Tomato says.
What
Certified
is
fresh.
the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Probably not good.
5.
But yeah, if that.
I mean, it's a family film. They had to.
Yeah.
They were. I mean,
It's fun. It's fun for what it is if you don't think too hard about it.
I just remembered Chase, who's texting me right now. This is one of his favorite films.
Seriously.
Yes, Chase Burdett. Everyone at him on whatever you can find and send him photos of your favorite screenshots from Mac and Me. He will love it forever because it's one of his favorite films. He actually told me this recently. So how fortuitous, since I just
That's too
spent
great.
the morning with him.
But for anyone listening, this is in jest. Like what you like. I don't care.
But seriously, do send Chase, and we'll have links for him in the description. Send him photos from Mac and Me. He will love it. Okay. Anything else?
No.
No. Are you done with Mac and Me?
Yeah, I'm done with Mac and Me. I think probably for the rest of my life.
All right, we'll have a watch
Unless Paul
party.
Rudd is on Conan again, then maybe I'll give it one more go.
We might have to have a watch party for that or a reaction video. Okay. Well, that was a fun family film. I think we'll transition to a much more serious, hardcore film that involves elements of horror and might not be appropriate for all of our audience members, so buyer beware. But the next film that had some multiple scenes I found deeply disturbing was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. I actually love a good dance sequence. I said good. If it's good, it's got to be good. I mean, when I go to Hamilton, I see people dance, I feel joy. When I see Tobey Maguire dance, I feel like somebody had a gun to his head 5 minutes before he went on to the set. So, as we all know, Spider-Man 3 was fraught with studio interference. Sam Raimi, I think, wanted to murder several people, allegedly. Not really. I don't know. That's just what somebody told me. The first two films had one villain to contend with. They had space to breathe. The plot could develop. You had side characters, all of Spider-Man's friends, his co-workers, his family, and it worked. Then all of a sudden, the focus for the third movie is 3 villains. And also 2 girlfriends, and still Aunt May and his co-workers, one of whom is one of the villains. So the whole movie has its issues. There's some good moments in it that you can find if you have a remote control and you skip to the end, and or just look at it in the box. Look at it in the box and know that you saw it once before, and whatever your vague memories of Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, that's good enough. It's better in your memory. And those dance sequences are appalling. They're decent actors in the film doing a bad job, I feel like, because they know they have bad material and they were roped in, hoping for a better movie. Because the first two, some still say Spider-Man 2, the best modern comic book film. It's good, don't get me wrong. It's great. It's just maybe not my favorite, but to anyone who says that, I couldn't disagree with them.
When I first seen that dance scene, everyone's like talking about it. I'm like, it wasn't that bad. What are you talking about? I thought it was all right. Then I rewatched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is cringy. What was I thinking?
And then there's 2. There's the one on the street that everyone talks about, but there's also the jazz club where he brings Gwen and like Mary Jane is working there. Yeah, you forgot about it.
I blocked that one out too.
You blocked that out too. Yes, he goes in there and then he gets up on. He's obviously Spider-Manning in this scene. Like he's Spider-Manning around, like doing stuff with the chair and jumping from table to table. And then he gets up and plays piano and says, "Now dig on this." What made them think ruining Venom, to top that, they could then have this scene in the movie at all? It could have completely been taken out. They're already not going to have swole Venom. They're making a stand on that. I actually don't mind this decision. That's one of the only things about Spider-Man 3 that I could And Thomas Hayden Church is good as Sandman. He's got the redemption story that works. I've never minded the idea of an on-screen Venom that would be like a nega Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like a anti-Spider-Man. Like there would be Negaduck as a foil for Darkwing Duck, and they look identical. They're just a different color scheme. I thought that would actually be cool. They got a guy who's as skinny or skinnier than Spider-Man to play him. They bulk him up a little. If you're going to have him be skinny, I say lean into it. Make him be just skinny. Because unless they do with the current actor who plays him, where they just make him like 9 feet tall and have him bulked out, and it's, and that's what they do in the comic as well. Sometimes he looks almost as big as the Hulk. So you live, you learn. And now there's a new Spider-Man 3, and it's pretty good.
Still not seen it.
Okay.
But yeah,
I guess
I had completely forgot
watching Mac and Me. So
yeah, I completely forgot that other scene. We're just going to name this episode "Repressed Memories," I guess. Anyway, my next movie. People are probably going to argue with me, but I like the movie, the latest Jurassic World. I think it was Dominion. It has its problems, but it's fun. I enjoyed myself when I watched it. But one thing that did drive me crazy about the movie is at one part, someone is running from the raptors on foot. Granted, it's through buildings and narrow alleys and stuff, but they were able to escape. Fine, whatever. We'll roll with it. But later on, Chris Pratt is on a motorcycle trying to escape these raptors, and they are keeping pace. And at that point, I'm like, no. Keep with your own logic here. If we're going to be outlandish, let's keep it outlandish, but let's keep it in the same lane. Either you can run them out on foot, or you can't. I'm just like, how does is she running faster than a motorcycle? Or is Chris Pratt just like a crappy motorcycle driver?
Is this Bryce Dallas Howard?
Yeah, she's the one outrunning them on foot. Yeah.
She can outrun a motorcycle.
I mean, yeah.
In real life. That's why they did that.
And high heels even.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no. Everything else, fine. The Jurassic fight scene, Fight Club at the end, that's fine. Whatever. You want to shoehorn the T-Rex into being the good guy in every new movie? Cool. Either you can outrun the raptors on foot or a motorcycle, not both. And that's my soapbox. I'll get off now.
Can you see her feet?
Yes, because I think she's actually jumping through or across balconies and like through the different hallways and stuff in these buildings.
I was just making sure that she wasn't wearing like those new like roller skate shoes where you can walk like normal, but they move you faster, like you're reverse moonwalking forward. Have you seen these?
No.
Well, we'll have to post links for that too. They're not a sponsor, but it's literally the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's like, how like classic roller skates, you just wear your regular shoes and they would clamp down. They're like that, but they're motorized. And they detect you know what this is.
I don't know. I guess I'm showing my age here because I know what the moon shoes are from Nickelodeon, but
those are actually pretty odd. Did you ever try those?
No, that just sounded like it's going to break my ankles.
So they will for sure, almost every time. But it looks like it would be so much fun. It is just disorienting. I tried them one time and I was like, oh my God. I think I was at a KB Toys. I think the one here at our local, the mall we used to have. And I mean, I almost died. The thing is, you're pretty secure in it to however good your balance works for you. So mine not so great. And I'm up and down and wobbly. And yeah, like it was hard to get out of them because of that. Anyway, I will show you a YouTube video. Except I don't know what those things are called, those new roller skates. So I'll have to call Allison and have her send that. Anyway, did you have anything else to say about Mac and Me?
It's like, who thought it would be a good idea to push that wheelchair kid down a hill? That was done in camera. They don't have special effects budget for Mac and Me.
No, you would know. You bought the original costume of the
got character. The original VHS release, special edition Blu-ray. Came with the Mac and Me doll.
And it's not plush. They made that with the skin of something.
So, it's the silicone lifelike.
All right. So this is a bit of a cheat for me. as I'm not going to mention just any one film. This encompasses one actor and his whole repertoire. Now, I know you're probably thinking I'm going to say somebody like Keanu Reeves or Nick Cage.
What?
This is any Tom Cruise film. You go back and you don't even have to watch them. You just think in your head, bring up everybody's going to have a different Tom Cruise film they pull up randomly. A Few Good Men, the rest. There's a moment in every one of these films, Vanilla Sky, Top Gun, whatever, where the director allows him to laugh maniacally straight into the camera, and every single time it goes on for much longer than it should. For a normal human's reaction, I should know because I have laughing seizures, and it's okay for me, but for anyone around me, it hurts their ears and they become incredibly uncomfortable. So why did they let him do that? Just turn the camera off or leave it rolling, everyone freeze, but edit it out later. It's not fun for us to watch a man slowly go insane over the course of 40 years. At least that's what my mom tells me. I don't know.
It's probably written to his contract. Look, either you leave it in or I keep the billions. And I have to run and do my own stunts.
Pay or play. Like, he gets the money either way. So
the only thing I can think of that he doesn't do that in is Legend. But then again, I don't know if that's his first role.
I think it was his first starring role.
Yeah,
at least.
but
like
it was definitely,
yeah. Wasn't he like 19?
Something around there, yeah. He was pretty young.
That might have been before something happened.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, more on this as it develops.
He had not yet got money.
Money. That's what we'll call it for now.
Any more about Tom Cruise?
Never. I'm never going to mention him again.
Well, this next movie might be a cheat, and everyone, you got to kind of give me some leeway. I've only seen it once when it first came out, so I was in high school. But this one scene has stuck with me. It's a movie called Undead. It's an Australian movie, 2003. I didn't know it was supposed to be a comedy at the time. So this may be where some of the confusion comes in and why this might be a cheat. But the premise of the movie is zombies start popping up, and then partway through you realize, oh, this also ties into this alien abduction this guy claimed happened to him at the start of the movie. So he becomes this prepper gun nut or something like that. I forget. But anyway, him and this group end up trying to traverse through this town and whatever with the zombies. And at some point, I think they're abducted by aliens and they lose all of their clothes. I think that's why they were running around naked. But after several scenes of them just running around naked, zombies attack. And they all just pull out guns and start shooting zombies. Not just like, oh, one little gun. No, like 2-hand guns, shotguns. Where were they hiding these guns? You have been naked for the past 15 minutes. Did you have this thing up your ass or something? I want to know. Like, that is the one scene that stuck with me. It's like, what? Where? Because it's not like, oh, we picked these up. It's like, no, you just start shooting. And it's like, I'm like, okay. It's like, this movie is already kind of weird. It's like, all right, zombie movie. Yeah, let's watch it. Aliens? Sure, we'll go. Zombies, aliens. All right, aliens, the good guys, maybe? I don't know. Let's magically have guns from our naked buttholes. But I'm going to stop talking now.
Okay. All right, so my next choice was, wait, did we already do Mac and Me?
Yeah, okay. Maybe we might have done Mac and Me.
That's also for a different list. That's one of my favorite films of all time, and I feel like you were making fun of it earlier. All right, so for this scene comes from arguably one of the best science fiction films of all time, and for most people, inarguably the best Star Wars film of all time. So in The Empire Strikes Back. Also, I just want to preface this by saying Mark Hamill is a national treasure. All right, not kidding. I love Mark Hamill. He is my Joker. I think he's one of the greatest voice actors, maybe of the 20 and 21st centuries. He's hilarious off stage. It seems like an all-around good guy. And also isn't afraid to give his opinion, which a lot of actors are. They will toe the line and be a total company man. Say like, for sure, that it's a great film. Shazam 2, I love it. You're gonna love it. Go see it. It's amazing. Should win every award. Everyone in it is the best actor you've ever seen. I haven't seen Shazam 2, but I hear it's middling. Whatever. There's a moment in The Empire Strikes Back, again, the best Star Wars film, probably, where Mark Hamill, a great actor, does probably his worst acting that he has ever done. If this ever reaches Mark's ears, I'm sorry, but this is true. And I know why it probably happened, but it doesn't excuse it. So, the beginning, they have the fight on Hoth. Then, spoilers for the best Star Wars film ever. If you haven't seen it, Luke is like kind of out in the snow, and then he ends up in a cave and has to fight this like Yeti.
The Wampa?
The Wampa. Yeah, that's what they call Yetis in Star Wars on that particular planet. And cuts its arm off to escape. Like it puts him upside down and has him trapped in ice for a while. He's all like battered and bruised. He gets his lightsaber back, cuts its arm off, leaves, and then, I guess, collapses in the snow. Han Solo comes and saves him after he says, "See you in hell," to the people back at the station. And when he finds him, Obi-Wan Kenobi has just appeared to him in a vision as a ghost and says, go to Dagobah and meet Yoda and train with him. He's the Jedi who trained me. That would set up issues for later plot points, but that's not even my issue here. My issue is the acting that Mark Hamill would then go on to do to Harrison Ford, which was just him saying, Dagobah system, Yoda, Dagobah, Yoda system, Dagobah. I'm being generous here. This was bad, and it's been like 50 years since this movie came out. He shouldn't feel bad about it. He should feel wonderful because of the work he's doing now to redeem his character. And also, they were like shooting in a legit blizzard, apparently. Like, I think conditions got so bad at some point, they actually just stayed in the hotel and shot from the doorway and would have them just run out into the snow to collect. I think it was just pickup shots, but it could have been some of the legit scenes. So they probably did not feel like doing 2 takes. I don't know about that particular scene. Maybe he remembers it. Maybe he was doing the best he could on that day. And if that's the case, kudos, Mark. I love you forever. You are and have played one of the most dynamic characters in all of fiction.
I agree with that, but I also have to say that as a true Star Wars fan, Empire was terrible, all Star Wars is terrible.
Whoa!
But I love it, and you can't criticize it, only I can.
Okay, well, just you.
Yeah, just me, yeah, as a true Star Wars fan.
Okay.
All Star Wars is bad,
yeah,
but it's good.
Every time I've been over recently, you've been wearing a Star Wars shirt, except today.
And here's why. Because the last time I wore a Star Wars shirt in public, this guy comes up to me. It's like, "Excuse me, sir. May the 4th be with you." I'm like, "Cool, man. It's still February. Bye." So I attract the weirdest people when I wear those shirts. I have to stop. And I had another guy that's like, "Man, give me your Wookiee impression." I'm like, "I am trying to leave Walmart, sir. I don't want to give you my Wookiee impression."
Were you even wearing a Star Wars shirt that day? Because you are, in real life, 8 feet tall and have a beard.
I was wearing a Star Wars shirt that day. He's like, "Love your shirt, man. Give me your Chewbacca." I'm like, I just want to go home.
Can you do a Chewbacca?
No, I'm like, "Look, man, I don't have a good Chewbacca." He's like, "Everyone's got Chewbacca." I don't. I'm leaving.
I don't.
No. I mean, maybe if I practice, I could have something.
Well, I think that should be a new segment on the show. We'll check back in and see if you're...
It's like each episode, do a different Chewbacca and see how it's progressing.
Yeah.
Progress reports. That's going to be the bonus content. You have to pay for that.
Okay, excellent. We have our first extra...
It's going to be $5 a month if you want to hear Chewbacca.
Spoiler alert, we're just going to play Chewbacca.
But no, honestly, I like all the Star Wars movies, some more than others, and that's probably going to get me no attention. This podcast is probably canceled right here for saying that I love all Star Wars movies, even the bad ones.
Ah, but which ones are the bad ones?
Well, if it goes by anything, the Solo movie, I actually kind of liked it. It's like, yeah, he's not Harrison Ford, but you have to admit, that was a decent attempt.
That guy was good in Cocaine Bear.
Still not seen it.
Sorry, but tangentially connected.
And I mean, Donald Glover as a young Lando couldn't pick a better casting.
No, Donald Glover is excellent in everything he does. So that's not fair.
But it does also kind of clear up some weirdness with Billy D. Williams. Keep calling Han. Yeah, they kind of like retcon that. He knows he is. He does it to piss him off. Just like there's another scene, and we probably should save this for Star Wars episode, but in the first Star Wars, when Leia is talking to Grand Moff Tarkin, she slips into a British accent and then back out. And it's now been retconned in one of the books, I think, that she's actually mocking him. When actually it was just Carrie Fisher's first day of filming, and she was nervous, and she had just come from an English acting class, or an acting class actually in England. And so that was in her mind.
Did you mean the fourth Star Wars film?
I just said Star Wars. We all know which one. But yeah, the first filmed Star Wars. That circumvents any other thing.
Okay. Well, did you have anything else to say about Mac and Me? I'm sure if I go back and listen to this and you've taken out every time that I've mentioned Mac and Me, I'm gonna mention it every episode forevermore.
Oh, no, I think Mac and Me's our new running joke. It's staying.
I will post photos of your costume. Not as a joke. I mean, I feel like the world needs to see it.
It's like, I'm going to actually have to get a Mac and Me costume now.
I'll just Photoshop you in one.
Just do one of those face swap things with Mac and Me.
No, the body.
And with that, I think that's a good place to stop. I want to thank everyone for staying with us till the end. If you like what you heard, then follow us at I Have No Title and I Must Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to support the show, consider becoming a member of our Patreon, where you can join our exclusive Discord server and gain early access to each episode, as well as bonus content and vote for potential topics on upcoming episodes.
Thanks to Chase Burdett and the Whole House is a Panic Room for our music. Links to where you can find those guys will be provided in the show's description.
And until next time, farewell.